Hi YouTubers, thank you so much for watching this channel. My name is Kevin and you're watching The Royal We. This is going to be one video in a series of 4 that I'm putting together for you to help you to understand, to process, and to recover from the narcissistic abuse in your current situation. Now I've divided this series up into 4 different videos. This first one is going to be on marriage. Marriage is a huge issue. If you're coming out of narcissistic abuse in marriage, you are utterly destroyed because everything that you had hoped for, everything that you had wanted in life, all of your dreams shattered. Not only that, but your family and your friends and your mutual friends have all sided with the narcissistic abuser. Well, what I don't want to do in this video or in any of my videos is talk about narcissistic personality disorder because I'm not interested in narcissists. But what I am interested in is the belief systems that you and that I have. Because I believe that it's the belief systems, especially going into marriage, that we have that is the doorway to narcissistic abuse. So follow me on this. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning. In order to get a thorough understanding of the history of marriage, which is important for us to realize, I'm going to be using the Bible. The reason I'm going to be using the Bible is because it's filled with ancient Hebraic texts that really give us an image of what marriage was and what it was intended for in the ancient world. And just because it's ancient doesn't mean it should be dismissed. So let's go as far back as we can. We'll go to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is the first union of a man and a woman that we see together. And in this union, it was a partnership. And it was given specific instructions. This partnership was told to do what? Be fruitful and multiply. So the union of the man and the woman coming together was to fulfill a purpose, fulfill a goal. And that's what they did. Now, following that, in the ancient world, marriage didn't change much as far as the view of marriage. It had a specific goal, a specific set of instructions. In fact, it wasn't uncommon for brothers and sisters to get married to each other. Ew! Disgusting! Right? If it wasn't brothers and sisters, then cousins were getting married. Relatives. The reason is because marriage was a means to a goal. The goal was to continue on a bloodline, a specific family line. That was the purpose of marriage. Marriage was not for these individuals to go into it in hopes to find their value and to be loved and to be nurtured. That's not what marriage was about. These people in the ancient world, they knew who they were. They knew what their value was. Their value was given to them through their bloodline. And so when they got married, they only had one thing to do. Make sure that that bloodline continued. That is the purpose of marriage. Man, that's way off from what we view marriage today, isn't it? We get into marriage today in hopes to find our compatible partner who's going to complete us. In the ancient world, they were not looking for somebody to complete them. They were looking for, and they needed a means to continue the bloodline. Now, we don't even see the word love associated with marriage until the ancient writings at the time of Jesus. In the Newer Testament, this is where we see love being associated with marriage. And the word love there isn't even the same word love that we use now. The scriptures say, husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church, and wives likewise love your husbands as Christ loves the church. But that word love isn't even the same word that we use. Our English translation of love has absolutely no meaning. This is why people can treat you like dirt and then turn around and say, I love you. They don't know what it means. It's become a meaningless slogan. Put on a banner, I love everybody. I don't know what it means. In the ancient scriptures, the word wasn't love that was used. In that particular scripture, husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. The word that was used is agape. And what agape means is an outward, charitable expression of a good act or service that just comes from within. Has nothing to do with expecting anything in return. It's not even a mutual act. It is a one-way act. Agapeing somebody. Agape, it comes from within you, outward. The best way to understand agape is just to look at the stories of Jesus. He walked and he lived out of agape, constantly pouring himself out, teaching people, loving people, healing people, giving to people, without getting anything in return. Nothing. That's agape. How do you receive? How do you even come to the place where you can live through agape love? Well, you have to have it within you. You can't give agape by receiving agape. Otherwise, it's not agape. You have to have it. It has to come from a different source. It has to come from within you. You have to know your value and know who you are to live like that. And that's the instructions that we have been given to love our husbands and our wives. So, let's tie this all together and put it into our marriage now, guys. What are we doing with our marriage? How does this affect the narcissistic abuse that's going on in your marriage? Well, if you want to beat narcissistic abuse in your marriage, the first thing you have to do is know your value. Know who you are from within. Now, this is not an easy thing to do, especially if you have come from a family line where you weren't given any value. And I'm not going to talk about the family that you come from yet. That's going to be in another video. But remember, in the ancient days, they didn't go into marriage to find their value because they had their value. Their value was in their bloodline already. All they did in marriage was to promote and to push and to further that bloodline. Marriage wasn't about love. The marriage wasn't about finding value for themselves. So we need to get to that place where we know our value. You need to understand your value and who you are. There's ways in which you can take the time to discover your own value, but it's not going to be through your marriage partner. Your marriage partner's responsibility is not to give you your value. That's, if I could summarize this whole video in that, in one line, it's that. Your marriage is not supposed to give you your value. You need to have your value. This is what will stop narcissistic abuse. How do you go about getting your value? You need to take the time to yourself. If you're still married and you're dealing with a narcissist, you need to be bold enough not to argue. Arguing with the narcissist is not boldness. Fighting back with them is not boldness. That is a losing attitude. And you will lose, I promise you. You want to beat the narcissist in your life? You need to work on yourself. Find your value. This is the only way to destroy the narcissist. Find your value. Get out of the house. Break away from your husband. Break away from your wife. Say, I am going to church. I'm going to go be around people who are going to pour life into me. That's what you have to do. And you're going to be met with a whole bunch of nonsense. Oh, you're weak. Oh, all the narcissistic stuff. Oh, you're going to go to church. Oh, rah, 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 rah. Let them cry. Go. Let me share with you a story real quick. When I first got married to my wife had come from a background of Catholicism. Her family was Catholic. I came from a Christian background. Boy, did they not like me. I was the smiling Christian guy. I was smiling too much. Oh, it's wicked. Whatever. When we first got married, I remember I told my wife I would like to go to church. My wife wasn't practicing. She wasn't a practicing Catholic, but she just had it instilled in her. My wife said, no, don't go. No, don't go. And then she said, no, I don't want to go with you. I'm not going to go with you. It was difficult, guys, for me. But I had to make a decision right then and there. Because I had to establish my own set of values, even in my marriage. So I told my wife, I'm going to go. You're welcome to come along whenever you want. My wife was upset with me, but I went still. And I went for weeks, months, by myself, every weekend to church. And I kept it steady. What ultimately happened? My wife ended up going with me. Changed her life forever. And I'll tell you what, now my wife is a spiritual influence in my life. And it's because I was working on creating my own value. That's what I encourage you to do. Create your own value. If you're still in a marriage and you're undergoing narcissistic abuse, start to work to create your own value. Do not look to the narcissistic individual to apologize to you or to do anything to create your value, because it's not going to happen. Okay? Now, if you're not yet married and you're watching this, or if you're divorced, before you ever get married again, work on creating your value. Work on your own value so that when you go into marriage, you're not looking for somebody who's going to give you that value. Because that is a doorway to narcissistic abuse. Know your value. Go into marriage looking for an outcome, a goal. So that way, during the courtship process, you can identify with somebody else your mutual goals, your mutual plans. Now, I'm not talking about making it the ancient worldview where you come together and just be fruitful and multiply. But find out what goals you do have that are based on your values. Maybe you want to own a family business. Maybe you do want to have some kids. Maybe you want to move to a different state, a different country. You need somebody who's going to resonate with these things so that you can form a union and a partnership, which is what marriage was intended to be. Now you can go out and accomplish these goals together. Narcissism won't ever be an issue because you're not going into marriage to find your values. You know what your values are. You're going into marriage for a specific reason, a specific outcome, a goal in mind. And when you have that goal in mind, now the union and the partnership of marriage makes sense. So how do you find this person? That's what the courtship process is all about. You have to court them. You want to know what courtship is? Courtship is not sleeping with a person so you can see how sexually compatible you are. Let's have sex, and because you've got to be sexually compatible. Listen, I'm a guy, you're a girl. My thingy works like this, and you know what I mean? Come on. Sex is the easy part. People get caught up in, the way they make me feel. And let me tell you, narcissists are very good at that. Why are narcissists good at making you feel good sexually? Because it's so easy it's so easy. Sex is so easy. It's an easy way for them to make you feel adored and valued by smothering you in their arms and their sexual, you make me feel so good. And all that stuff wears off. And then you're left with nothing but the narcissistic rage and hate. So don't use courtship as a way to find out if you're sexually compatible. I promise you, if you're a woman and you like guys, if you're a man and you like women, you will be sexually compatible. Doesn't matter how freaky you are. You can work together to sort the freaky stuff out after you identify your mutual values and goals. Okay? Courtship is not about experimenting living together. Okay? Well, I got to see, how he puts his toothbrush away after he brushes his teeth, because I have a real pet peeve about the toothbrush being left on the counter. You know what? Come on, that's not what courtship is about. Courtship is about identifying in your partner the common goals, the plans, and the values that you have on your heart. But you can only do this once you have your values, once you know your plans, and once you have set goals. In the ancient world, they knew their plans, they had their goals, they had their values. The goal was to continue the bloodline. The plan was to continue the bloodline. Their values were in their bloodline. They knew who they were. That's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions for me, hit me up. There's my number right there. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. Be back with more right here on The Royal We.